Can you believe it? We're already 1 year into the channel. So I thought, why not start year 2 the same way that we started year 1 by Bible checking a worship song. So, I'm Aiden and welcome to season 2 of A Pastor's Life for Me.
Grace, what have you done? Murdered for me on that cross, accused in absence of wrong, my sin washed away in your blood.
I love this verse. It emphasizes, it tries to make real the reality that Jesus actually died on the cross for our sins. I think too often we say that Jesus died on the cross, but we don't really have sort of a picture to that. We can lack the emotional connection to it. How often do we feel for Christ like if we were sitting next to a loved one who's at their final moments of life, dying of cancer? That fear, that anxiety, that pit in your stomach, that lump in your throat. Grace, what have you done, reflects that a heavy price was put upon us that he paid. 1 Peter 2:24 sums up this verse pretty well. He himself bore our sins in his body on the tree, that we might die to sin and live to righteousness. By his wounds you have been healed. Also, 2 Corinthians 5:21, which speaks of the sinlessness of Christ. For our sake he made him to be sin who knew no sin, that in him we might become the righteousness of God. And then the last line of the verse, my sin washed away in your blood, is basically the definition of expiation. Expiation being that Christ's blood washed away our debt made by sin. Death, where is your sting? Your power is as dead as my sin. The cross has taught me to live in mercy, my heart now to sing. Death, where's your sting is a quotation right out of 1 Corinthians 15:55. And the following line is just expanding on that. Romans 6:14 says, for sin will have no dominion over you, since you are not under the law, but under grace. Since sin is now dead to us, we live in obedience to Christ. And so in that regard, the cross has taught us how to live. And as Paul says in that, we rejoice. The bridge of the song is fairly basic, saying that our soul will live because of Christ. So we're not going to go into it any more than that. But of course, the pre-chorus is what you're all waiting for, isn't it? You could also say that this is the second half of each verse, as the first part of it changes between verse 1 and verse 2. Verse 1 says, too much to make sense of it all, I know your love breaks my fall. This just adds to the first verse and how it should be mind-boggling to us that Christ did what he did for us. Which leads us into the line, the scandal of grace, you died in my place, so my soul will live. This, of course, leads us to the question that you are all here for, is grace scandalous? I believe that part of this concept is taken from 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verses 27 to 29, which says, but God chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise. God chose what is weak in the world to shame the strong. God chose what is low and despised in the world, even things that are not, to bring to nothing things that are, so that no human being might boast in the presence of God. The point that the song is trying to make is that it seems like a scandal to have a perfect God come and die for sinners like us. Just thinking of Jesus' ministry, the religious leaders, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the lawyers, they thought that it was scandalous for Christ to be eating with sinners and tax collectors. How much more scandalous would it be if he died in their place? To the world, that seems foolish, or as the song says, a scandal. In that sense, I suppose grace would seem scandalous. Here's my problem with it though. A scandal is defined as an action or event regarded as morally or legally wrong and causing general public outrage. I agree that from the world's perspective, grace is scandalous. But in reality, it's not, because the only perspective that truly matters is God's. He has chosen to do something that the wise consider foolish, that the world considers scandalous, to bring many to salvation. Why? Because in order to believe something so crazy and so ridiculous, you have to humble yourself in order to believe it. It sounds like a fairy tale a child would believe. And as Paul said in the passage that I quoted, God did this so that no one can boast before him. So is grace foolish, ridiculous, or scandalous? No, but the world does see it that way. That's all I'm going to say on the subject, because really you personally need to decide how you feel about this song. For me, I wouldn't do it in a worship service because it could give a wrong impression that isn't necessary to give. A scandal is seen as something wrong in our culture, and there is nothing wrong or sinful about grace. So to prevent this image, I wouldn't do the song, but that's just me. Alternatively, you could also just change the lyrics. Change Scandal of Grace to Anthem of Grace. Personally, I really like this change because what does the gospel proclaim? That Jesus Christ died in our place. So that is the gospel's anthem, and here's how that sounds.
Too much to make sense of it all. I know that your love breaks my fall. The anthem of grace, you died in my place. Now my soul will live. Oh, to be like you, give all I have just to know you. Jesus, there's no one beside you. Forever the hope in my heart.
Since Christ has died for us, we need to surrender to him. This is what sanctification is, us becoming like Christ. We must give all of us and not just a part. God doesn't save just a portion of us, but the whole. So we must give all of ourselves to know him. There is none besides him. There is no one else who can save us, so he is forever our hope, meaning our assurance. I think Luke 9:23 is a good reference for the chorus. And Jesus said to all, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. Isaiah 46:9 says, remember the former things long past, for I am God and there is no other. I am God and there is no one like me. There's 2 verses, but there are many more on us surrendering and on there being no one else besides God. So this song is alright. I really like the first verse and how it tries to bring that emotional connection to Christ's death for us. Let me know what song you want me to do next, because it has been way too long since I have done one of these videos. Like this video if you enjoyed it, consider subscribing to the channel and turning on that bell notifications. I'm excited for season 2 and what it holds for us, but that is all for today. And so until next time, remember to know the word, do the word, and share the word. But as always, we do it in love.